behind the scene. It's time to get mean. I'm a lean revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly dis, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, and you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Welcome to Thursday.
That's a great welcome song.
Paco, what's up, Paco? Same link as last time if you want to join. It's always the same link. Always the same link. They made it easy for me, so I like that.
Yeah, but I had to go back 4 weeks through scrolls where I get the link, on the message thing. So I'm going to copy it, and then I'll put it there. It's like, it's good though. I mean, being almost on time now, so I've learned to start things earlier too.
Okay, he's about to eat dinner and hop on in a few, and I'm sure he's going to do a few bong rips as well. We'll have to add that into the equation here. Some bong rips, some dinner, a little neck massage.
Could be going back to work too, though. His day doesn't always end by 7 o'clock. Probably rarely.
I know the pain drill, and I tell you what, today was a good day because it was warm, and I really appreciate the warm weather because once it gets cold, man, my neuropathy is awful. It's still awful. It's awful now, but it's not. It's going to get worse, and that's what gives me anxiety and stress. Is my pain is going to just get worse over the winter, and it gives me anxiety. Which is why they give antidepressants to people with pain. They do. It's a thing. They've tried to push it on me for years, antidepressants, and I never took them. However, I might look into the whole mushroom therapy thing.
Well, I don't see any risk in expanding your horizons.
I've never in my life microdosed. When I take mushrooms, I take them to take them, and I take them to meditate and to trip.
You're muted too. Mute.
To sleep, 250 milligrams of psilocybin will be okay. That'll be good.
Yes, even Paco agrees. He says microdosing saved his life. I hear this story time and time again. Jeff Oakes microdosed, I believe, also, as well as tripped, but he also microdosed.
I microdosed. I did too.
Yeah, I want to try it. I do.
It's fun for a while.
Well, have you never tried mushrooms, Lefty?
I've done mushrooms, but I take an eighth to a quarter. You're talking
Yeah,
about,
well, that's an eighth to a quarter is like the normal dose, but that's
Yeah.
grams,
yeah. You're talking milligrams. You're talking
milligrams,
not-
milligrams. Yeah,
just-
you got to microdose. You got to do milligrams,
just lightening your mood a little bit. That's all it's
Yep.
doing.
and you'll
Well,
sleep good.
I have curiosity because somehow I developed a better power of introspection during the course of this particular year, and I don't like it because like I keep telling myself to do things I don't want to do and find out, well, I was right, you know. But from my experience, a small dose of a mushroom product such as that, that used to help my introspection. It used to push that button. Now I'm already doing pretty good on that, but you know, I take a lot of work. I mean, if I really want to get somewhere, and I'd be curious. So let me know how it goes with you. Actually, one time I was the guinea pig because the first time I had mushrooms was in Jacksonville, Florida. I was on my way back from a spring break, and some the guys I was with knew some people there, and you get a cow pasture and fill up large, extra long bread bags with mushrooms just by kicking over cow shit on a.
Did you take
on-
cow
on
shit
the
off?
What's that?
Did you wash the cow shit off?
Oh, well, yeah, very, very much so. And then it got highly boiled in a turkey pot because it was like a whole
Hmm.
a pot, and it got boiled, and then it sat there like simmering for like hours. So that wouldn't have been the problem, but
So
I
you,
don't.
so you had mushroom soup?
Tea. They made tea out
Oh,
of it.
tea. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
So
another way of making tea too that I have a little recipe, of
Yeah.
doing the tea
Well,
bag.
yeah. This was just sort of like just to get it into the system. It was all new to me. I didn't think, come on, you can't have that kind of effect from something in a cow pasture right down the road from where we are. And it was everybody took bread bags because you'd empty the mushroom and say, "Oh, we're on a snake hunt," whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I found it was really a pretty upended dose in a six or I think it's a 6 ounce. Those little paper Dixie cups, the ones that come, get a little drink of water.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had like 4 of them, but after the first 2, I felt like people were watching me, and I was like the new guy. I was there for a couple of days and home and playing cards, and somebody said, "So, like, how do you feel? You don't have like any stomach pains or anything?" And I knew what they were doing. They were checking to make sure there wasn't a problem. I was a test dummy, But it was like more than I was ready for, and I wasn't a stranger to it, so I didn't mind it.
Paco
we'll
has
have-
a crazy story about wild mushrooms being picked. He knows somebody who got sick.
Yeah.
My
Well,
mother, my
yeah.
my mother and my aunt, they used to go mushroom picking all the time. Whenever they were up in the woods in Vermont.
Well, I would never eat. I mean, I wouldn't have. Everybody hadn't heard. Oh, you just don't go eating mushrooms. You can't be sure. And
They were very happy ladies.
well,
It's an Italian thing.
see how that works out. But yeah, in the meanwhile, that's that trying to push that homegirl button. It's just
Me, Ma, back at the ranch.
yeah.
Oh, next Thursday. Who do I have for next Thursday?
Don't know. That's not how the way it works.
Bung-
No,
You tell us first, and then
I
give
tell
us a
you.
pop quiz.
Is it
I'm trying to
Bungholio?
think. What?
Bungholio?
No, he missed his night.
No, we didn't have a podcast.
We didn't have a
Yeah, we
pod.
didn't have a podcast. That
Yeah,
night.
it was like it was a Thursday day podcast.
I'm trying to think who did I stick in there for? No, I put in somebody good. I mean, you could, have him for half. He can
Yeah.
split it.
I'm pretty curious.
No, I had this really, really, really good person for next Thursday, so I don't want to take up next Thursday.
no.
She's really cool. You're gonna like her.
3 realies.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi,
You're
Tamara.
muted. Muted. There
Hi,
you go.
thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
How is everyone?
Oh, we're all good. Got a little chilly here tonight.
Fantastic.
It was 82 here today, but
Nice.
no, not really. I had to put the air on.
I like it hot.
Yeah.
I do too, but you know what? I can't, there's no balancing act going on here, One day it's 59, one day it's
I
82.
know. Yeah,
Crazy season.
it's chilly here.
So, Lefty on my screen is to
Hi.
your.
I'm Lefty.
Okay, he's waving.
He's the one that says lefty.
They're identified. They have labels, and Jim is on the bottom. But I already kind of gave you a little rundown on who they are and what they do.
Oh,
Okay.
that's always advisable. I prefer that. We don't want to
Because
suddenly.
I
be
love
just-
you both. You're like my brothers.
Yeah. Well, I would, I've gone to just telling people if I have to warn them about me, the quickest thing is Google search Jim Miller medical marijuana, New Jersey, and start looking through, get your own opinions. I mean, it's, Tamara, I want to make sure. Tamara. Okay. It's good to ask. Yeah, Tamara, your credentials are easily acronymed. Mine not so easily, because it's not like that. But
What are your credentials?
mine.
Yeah, Jim, what are your credentials?
Yeah, all these years that we know you,
I was
we don't know your credentials.
I was the first
here we go.
medical cannabis advocate in New Jersey.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, it was 1990. So that was like 6 years before California legalized it. And when I say I was a medical marijuana advocate, it was because my wife at the time had multiple sclerosis, very advanced, primary progressive. And I didn't know, I smoked, she didn't. So, when I found out after doing some frantic research for a couple of years, came across, this will be the shorter story, just saying when I found out, I couldn't believe it. Literally right under my nose was the answer to her extreme tightness. I mean, you don't move. I tell people, look, if you're on an interstate, you get gas, people stop their cars. Oh man, they're like stretching like they just got a solitary in prison or something. And so like a person that can't move themselves is just still. So they're not, and they've been going like this in the car too. So with Gerald, it was the first move of a muscle. All the rest would pull in, and that prevented effective therapy. And when I found out, the problem was that for over 50 grams every time in New Jersey, if you had over 50 grams of cannabis. I call it marijuana when nobody called it cannabis, by the way. I don't just flip it back and forth. It's just become natural. Yeah, well, it's because that's what it was then. Nobody, if it was cannabis, oh, you're just trying to make it sound scientific. That would be the pushback. That's how long ago it was.
Right.
But anyway, I did what it took, and it culminated with me pushing her wheelchair 58 miles across the state in 1993, still long before anybody had any illegal cannabis other than the federal program. And it was 58 miles over 25 hours. The media was advised ahead of time, and they were there to greet me. And it was after 2 years of trying to tell them, look, you can come watch my wife eat green butter, and her spasticity will disappear. It's illegal. They didn't. They wouldn't. So I yanked her chain. It took off doing that. And so I would say, to my knowledge, nobody had ever brought anything up to anybody in Trenton. And my problem was I wanted that with a doctor's recommendation that not whether it would still be illegal medically, but it should not be automatic intent to distribute if you get more than 50 grams, because the risk factor goes up the more times you acquire. And again, 1990 and 91 were bad years. You know? So I'd say, yeah, if I had to credential myself, but see how long that took, because I can't just say that without backing it up, and it's the backing it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. But then also, just a lot of other things. You know, I mean, I've been arrested 3 times on purpose, and I could have been arrested 4, but it didn't work the first time, and
Could have been.
they didn't take the bait when. But that was because I was tired of there's no tests that have ever been done with MS and that, and we fought the MS Society and everybody, and I was just so sick of hearing it that I said, well, if there's no test that's ever been done, if we did a test like with Sheriff in our hospital bed in front of the State House with the tincture announced in the Star Ledger, we're going to break the law, you know, and do this, that if they let me go, we'll do a test, and we did. Gave it to her. They had to wait in a tincture. And then before that, she was stiff as a board and reacting dramatically good for the test. And then afterwards, it was like the difference between spaghetti in a box and spaghetti that's cooked now, you know. Good. So anyway, but the test didn't work only because the state police refused to arrest us. And they refused to take the material, which was crucial to the test. So to keep the first test from being done, they didn't take the bait. Anyway, I did. I like to know a little bit about somebody before the podcast, and. I found 12 minutes with you and the camera, and I didn't look at the title. It was recent, so I was able to learn about what a conundrum to be in your position, knowing what you know, the way you found out, a little bit of a cross to bear, you know, but then it's like you got drafted, you know, you didn't have a choice really, and because how do you turn away from what you know? And this is about the children. You know, what about the children? You know, I'm sorry, but this is about it. You know it. I know it. I understand. I thought I had it tough, you know. So I'm pretty interested to hear how you can expound on that, because you might be more aware. I think we asked David Grinspoon this. I know it was
Peter.
Peter Grinspoon. Peter Grinspoon. David was his brother, I think. He had a twin. Anyway, about the rate of 14% of medical schools teaching anything about the endocannabinoid system. Do you have any idea if that number has risen a little bit? Because if it's not being taught there and you have a minor, can we get this taught to children because of all the pertinent reasons? Wow.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it has not risen. And it's tough where I work, because I do have the knowledge, and sometimes I kind of slide a little bit in there when I can.
Yeah, oh man. I mean,
but I'm very careful because I have to be.
Yeah.
But
because what about the children? I mean, they can't at least counter if the discussion was being had with somebody who might not see how this should happen. You're saying, but what about the children, to people who have spent decades saying, what about the children? Which is, it's hard for me to wrap my cannabis head around at this exact moment. But that's what I find fascinating about it. And my heart goes out to you, because I think when I tried to feel why I felt like such a parallel track was that when we found out what worked for Cheryl, and her neurologist saw that she had gotten loose enough to actually get therapy, and he knew why it was. It was her green butter, as he called it, And this is 1990. So he said, listen, the best rehab in the state is Lawrenceville Rehab for these purposes. They admit and discharge on Fridays, and I've recommended Cheryl, and it was awesome. They got it. Anyway, on Monday, after working with her, it's like a private room. And after being admitted on Friday and getting used to the staff and getting comfortable, all right, the first physical therapy on Monday. And they told me when I got there Monday, for dinner, that they're going to discharge her on Friday because it took 3 people to work on her because of the extreme spasticity. And I said, isn't there anything you can give her? Well, we're giving them the max, the live baclofen and some other things. And so I went home, found myself real lucky with a friend of mine that got me a proper amount, and all I knew to do was make brownies. I mean, I couldn't be bringing them butter and say, could you put butter on it? So I came in and said, listen, you can put Humpty Dumpty back together and teach a motorcycle accident to live by breathing through a straw, and you're going to tell her you can't help her. Why is she going to try to help herself after this? And I really didn't feel bad on purpose, because then I said, well, look, at least you can do is keep her comfortable. She got this odd breakfast quirk. She has a decent sized brownie every morning for breakfast and then dinner as well. Do you have brownies here? No, we don't. You're in luck. I brought a batch, and they were individual brownies. Well, wouldn't you know it, the next day they called me in early, said, if you're coming after dinner, could you get here before 4 o'clock? And I was thinking, oh, that's coincidentally when the rehab room closes at 4, because I already knew that. So I got down there maybe 2, and there's Cheryl on the other side of a rather large room with somebody over there, and she's trying not to smile at seeing me. And I know I'm walking into something good. I don't know how to. So anyway, when I came over, this woman excited says, I want to show you something. So she reached up and grabbed her, what she was wearing, could have been not sweatpants, but something. And they grabbed it and picked her leg up, to do the pendulum test, But just doing that would take 3 people to hold the arms and everything. And now there was no spasticity at all. I mean, it was like gone.
Of course.
And I had to say, what'd you do? What'd you do? I said, we don't know. We don't know. That was my moment. That was my moment. Like when you found out, oh, it does work. Oh my God. Yeah, that was my moment, because, oh, wow, well, you are as good as everybody says. And I couldn't say, and they were working with people that needed to know.
Yep.
I couldn't say.
Nope. Yeah.
Okay, here I am 30 some years later. It gets under your skin,
It does.
Yeah. It's like being in a crime organization. You can't quit. You just can't. You can't. I mean, because there will be consequences just within myself,
Yeah.
Get drafted to. Oh, well, that's maybe that, but that's why I see your conundrum. So, although I did this, there's going to be people watching, and the rebroadcast, the people tune in upon recommendations in this put up tomorrow for everybody's edification. And could you just briefly sum up so anybody else would know what it is and how you got roped into doing this with children?
I got roped into doing this for children.
Oh, you
Rope her in.
know.
So,
Yeah, that
well,
too. That too.
I'm a school nurse, and so it's going 19 years. It's 19 years now that I've been a school nurse, and I actually I was labor and delivery first, and I kept seeing actually teenagers coming in to have babies, and I just felt like if I could just be in the high school system and get to them before they got to my floor, I could be of more service to them. So that's why I ended up I ended up in the school system, because I felt like I needed to be in the schools with the children to provide education so that to prevent as many as possible from getting to my unit before they were truly ready. And when I got there, I'll tell you what. So when I got there, let's say there's a student, right? I don't know if you want me to just go into this now, but let's say there's a student that maybe someone smells cannabis on them, right? And so administration will come down and get the student, bring them back to the office. And then it's the nurse's job. They would call the nurse down to assess the student for suspected use of cannabis. And being new and still being in that mindset of, well, this is wrong and nobody should be using it because, we're not taught that cannabis is beneficial medically or medicinally in nursing school. So my mindset was, I was a card carrying down with dope, up with hope when I left nursing school. I mean, I would cut it off quick. So when I got there, I would go in, I would do the assessment. And when I tell you, I was like, I was doing everything. I was sniffing fingers. I mean, they thought I was great because I was like, yep, I smell it. They have to have been using it. I would do like a full assessment. And then as I started to know better, I felt like, I started to do better. But it wasn't until years down the road, I saw an article, and I think it was in a holistic nurses association article. And I saw an article about cannabis helping people with ADHD. And I was like, huh. And that there's a backstory to that. But after that, I started to become curious, but I still wasn't really convinced. And into my own my breast cancer diagnosis. And that's when I really started to dive into educating myself. And then I started going into those, more so into those situations with compassion. And instead of saying, hey, I'm here as part of the team to find out if you've been using cannabis. Now, I started going in and saying, I'm not here for discipline. I'm just here to make sure that you're okay. And I'm here to find out your why, because there's a why. Are they in pain? Are they depressed? Are they, are they anxious for some reason? Like, what's going on? Like, what's the why? And that's my concern now. And I love for them to ask me questions because I love to educate about cannabis. I just have to be careful about how I go about doing it. But if they ask me, once they ask me, I'm like, oh, this is like, free game for me. I go in, I feel like I can educate, but I'm careful about bringing it up. And I just give them facts. I give them facts. But that's how I ended up getting into whole school nursing thing and how I ended up with the kids.
So what would you consider the odds of one day that people who are not old enough to qualify for smoking under whatever legalization laws, being able to be educated about the endocannabinoid system. I mean, this is a goal, is it not?
That is definitely my goal.
Okay.
That
And
is
yeah, that's what a wonderful but lofty goal. But the thing is, what will happen is people will say, well, that'll never happen. You can't do that. And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when everybody accepts it and doesn't try. Somebody has to try, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I walked across the state pushing a wheelchair 58 miles, because somebody had to try, you know? And it's is there anything anybody else can do to help? Obviously, but it just seems like, I guess we keep on doing what we do, but it really kind of pissing me off about the medical school thing being the same as all that, because where there are medical schools, there are people that got into medical school smoking, getting high, for the reasons whether they knew it or not. Because I had 1 year in college, and then it was a matter of money. But that year, I found first time I smoked, nobody offered, and then Thanksgiving vacation at North Carolina State, I didn't go home. It's a state school. It emptied out, and somebody offered, and I said, about time, you know. And it's just that that's where the answer is. It's not in the medical school staff. It's not in the people who know better, who could bring this up. There's no push from the people that are being deprived.
this is true.
And see, that's where we actually have a better chance of helping in the long run. Because with groups like Students for Sensible Drug Policy, nationally speaking, and I worked with them, with Cheryl in her lifetime, and they're quite a bunch, and a lot have gone on to be doing great things. Yet it's still that 14% figure. It's unacceptable. If it's going to be considered Schedule 1 with no medical use, okay. But the very second that changes, assuming it still does, and it'll disappoint a lot of people with Schedule 3, why I'd be disappointed. It seems like it's not a consecutive or a concurrent thing. They can happen one at a time or together. Not going to happen together. It's looks like the Schedule 3 thing, delayed till January, you know. But at that point, they got no excuse. In college or high school or medical school to not teaching people about the system that regulates all the other systems we have.
Okay,
That's my argument.
Say something.
Yeah.
We all agree about this, okay?
Yeah.
And I think all of our, different organizations and our networks and what have you, we all agree about this.
Yes.
But you got to realize a lot of things with schools, in particular the colleges, they are federally funded.
Yes.
So as long as it remains as a federal schedule, federal one.
I agree. I understand, but the students need to know that, and that's their job.
They do. They know.
They
know.
But
so I just want to say one thing. My sister and my brother, my sister and her boyfriend are both doctors, and they've learned about the endocannabinoid system, and they've been.
And where did they go to medical school?
That's amazing. Where do they go?
Where did they go to medical school?
They didn't learn about it in school. Did they learn about it at Rutgers?
Rutgers.
Because they went to school to be DOs, not MDs. So they learned the entire body.
But it's still federally funded. It's still
I
federally
understand that,
funded.
but they're not MDs going for a specialty. They
Well,
went for the entire
the
body.
school-
And that makes a difference.
But
And
what
the
I'm
endocannabinoid
not-
system is part of the body.
okay, whatever.
That's what they learned at Rutgers. That's what they told me that's what they learned.
Okay.
I have learned that there is a difference in what the DOs and the MDs learn. I have seen that.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
they learn the
also
entire
Less
body.
is fine.
they are a little bit more on the holistic blend
Yeah.
than medicine. Now, my husband is a surgeon, but he went to school in Guadalajara, so his education, and he also went to school at Mayo.
Hmm.
That's where he did his residency.
Right.
So he teaches at the medical school that's up here in Nutley.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you know, they're just some places that are federally funded, and they can't. They just
Right.
can't because they'll lose their funding.
They can't put it on the actual roster of what they're teaching. Is the syllabus?
will that matter?
Anybody can teach whatever they want without it
yes,
being
that-
on the curriculum.
Mhm.
No, Jim.
So
That's
them, and they're younger than me, mind you. They're 5 years, 6 years younger than me. So they,
Okay.
like I said, so they're learning this recently, as opposed to like, you know what I mean? This is like they're just fresh out of medical school, I believe.
Okay.
Does
Couple
going-
years, like 5 years now. So they're just finishing their residency. You
Mhm.
figure, so that's fairly recently new as far as literature that they were taught, but it wasn't like the main point of the actual.
Yeah, and Robert Wood is
education,
a state university, so their funding is different. You know?
Correct.
So they have a little bit more leeway, and they're pretty big.
The
And
wiggle room. That's exactly what they said. They had a little more wiggle room with
they
learning
do.
that because
Yeah,
it's right
they
next
do,
to
but-
Robert Wood.
What I'm trying to say, all this, I think, is going to be irrelevant when it's not Schedule 1 anymore. I'm getting in ahead of that. I'm just saying, why wait till that?
that's why.
Because but why wait till that to light a fire under somebody's butt that's in that school that can at least talk about it with other people in that school, that when it finally gets recognized as having a medical freaking use, that it should be taught in that school, and a federal,
Jim,
yeah.
they are doing that stuff. They are preparing right now
What
to
are they
move
doing?
into Schedule 3.
Yeah, right.
Now,
I
that's
see,
been
right, what-
delayed because
yeah.
it was supposed to be looked at next month. It's been delayed, okay,
In
until
January,
next
yeah.
year. Yeah, they said January, then I heard February. then
Which
I- no,
means June, probably.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
knows?
So it'll be 2 years from now, whatever.
That sounds about
will.
right. That's
In
political
2 years.
timeline for you.
I thought I'd save some time, skip the rest of the months, nothing
Yeah.
against the months in
Yeah,
between.
2
but,
years from now.
you know,
Okay.
yada yada, June. Yeah. And June of what year? Yeah.
So what I think I hear Jim saying is it's coming, so why not prepare the physicians and the nurses before it gets here? That's what
The physicians are prepared. They're
I'm
prepared,
hearing him say.
and they've been
So-
prepared. And they've been prepared. I just know from from where I sit, they're prepared. And a lot of them know a lot more than they want to let out to know because of the general public.
Okay.
You know, it's not accepted by the
Okay,
general.
now out of the 14% that do teach it, out of the 86% that don't, now you're saying apparently state universities aren't affected by federal funding necessarily. Is that what I'm understanding now?
Some of them, Robert Wood
Some of them,
Robert Wood
yeah,
is state
but out of
university.
all those, there is a list somewhere. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in other words, a list could be compiled. It'd be interesting to know what percentage of them do teach it. My guess is 14%. Now, if that's the case, then there is something we can do, which is to have people in those schools like, hey, I'm in school here and I want to know about it. I want to teach about before medical
Yeah,
school.
they can look it up on the internet.
Yeah. I don't know. When I was in college, we tended to take part more than college students do today, unless
We
it's rammed
didn't
up
have
their
the
ass.
internet, Jim. When you and I were in school, we're old.
Oh no, I'm just complaining. I'm not
Thank you.
saying there's
Fucking
any. I'm
laughing.
not saying it's anybody's fault, you know. But again, I still think some of it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, waiting for something without finding out first, is there something that can be done? And the only way to find out is to try. So that's where I live, you know. I mean, and I've had to live like that. And the thing is,
It's a very great.
I'm afraid of
missing
I'm afraid of missing something, you know. And
We won't let you miss.
you know, it's like I sleep good when I'm doing something like this. And like I was saying, you know, I'm turning to a little more. You know, it's I'll find a niche. I'll find somewhere to move a needle. You know, without a lot of work. It's not like I've got to raise money or take time or go on a trip. I got it all in front of me, like you said. You know. And basically, if I'm good at it, I can make it such a good idea. What I do is I dangle credit in a way without saying, "Hey, I'm dangling credit. Here's a good idea." I'd rather follow you because I've got some other stuff going, but I can be of help, and that kind of ropes people into occasionally doing something. I have found. You know. You're here.
Tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the school system.
So, I mean, really, what I would like to actually see going on in the school system is teaching about the endocannabinoid system, because like Jim was saying, it's the system that regulates all other systems. And I know they're afraid because cannabis, you know, because of the stigma of cannabis, but I know I can teach about the endocannabinoid system really without even bringing up cannabis if that's what they want. Because they're just afraid for me to, I think they're afraid for me to even mention cannabis. But the reality is our students are using cannabis. We know they're using cannabis.
But you know what?
And I would rather them have the facts about it than to guess and to find out from their friends who don't know a whole lot about it or who don't have all of the facts. So yeah, that's what's really going on in the schools. It's just, you know, if you talk about it, it's just not welcomed. And right now, I mean, I have brought it up to administration that I would like to teach about the endocannabinoid system, and they haven't gotten back to me yet. But I guess my thought process is maybe if I teach it, maybe like at some type of institute day, or one of our school improvement days to the staff, maybe they can get an idea of exactly what I want to bring to the students, and just teach it, like I said, without ever bringing up cannabis. Now, like I said, if they bring up cannabis, then hey, then you know that's free game. Then I'm gonna teach about it. But I want to teach the students about the endocannabinoid system and how to upregulate it without cannabis, because a lot of them, that's my conversation with them. Although they don't know it, that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. You know what the problem is too, though, you know, especially because you're in the school system, is you're going to have a parent here and there, you know, that's going to go to the board of ed and cause a ruckus. And so I don't know, like I'm in the mindset now that we're so short in this waiting game that all of these institutions are just going to wait it out. I had one of the I don't know what do you call she's a nurse theorist, okay, like Jean Watson.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you have somebody so she got in touch with me yesterday, and she asked me if we could have a conversation about cannabis labeling. And I was like, well, that's interesting. She's from the American Nurses Association, and she's getting in touch with me. I'm like, you know, I'm kind of like the street person that you get in touch with. But I just said, you know what? I really wanted to, you know what I really wanted to tell her was I really wanted to say, go fuck yourself. You know, really. But I didn't. I took a breath.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going away for a conference next week. And when I get back, you can reach out to me then. That was it. I left it like that. But cannabis labeling. So see, everybody's preparing. Everybody is, you know.
I would recommend finding out how to say "go fuck yourself" in a seldom spoke language somewhere. When you know, how would I say that? And get good at saying it, and just mutter it when it comes to you, you know, to the person. They won't ask. Ask what is eating you. what? Nothing. You know.
I say it very well.
No, I know, but you don't want them to know. See, that's the
So-
thing about swearing is you could tell somebody with a smile and a handshake exactly that, and if they didn't speak English, they wouldn't know. They think you're their best friend, and
Okay.
and
But I
see you
didn't
smile.
say it. But I didn't say it. Okay. I wanted, I'm
Yeah.
in a place where I can speak honestly here, but I didn't say it. And
No, I would.
say,
I
oh,
would
nice of you
assume
to
that.
get in touch with me now. Where were you, like, when I was suing
Yeah.
some institution, 20
What
years
about
before.
what about if there was something that people staff at schools, it could learn about the briefest of the endocannabinoid system. I mean, there. It would seem to me, even if one didn't feel like this is the way to go, the idea of something as scientific as that, and the short version that it's the system that controls the other systems. I mean, anybody can understand that principle. Is that not worth going to an hour presentation at a school cafeteria or something like that? It's unbelievable. I think when people realize that we're hardwired for it. We can't help that and can't avoid it. And it wasn't until Peter Grinspoon described it as the air traffic control system of all the other systems. Keeping everything. Basically, it does come with scientific information that if it's really for that kind of benefit. And when I had my little bit of time in college, I found that I really could soak it up. I mean, if I was alone, if I wasn't distracted. And 14 years, it keeps echoing. It's sort of like, geez, if it's not in medical school, but it is a lofty goal, but it's going to happen. I mean, it is, and it's already started with the cracks in the fissure of Schedule 1, Schedule 3, and no matter, that's going to happen.
Right, but and here's the other thing. So as of I think last year or maybe the year before, I'm in Illinois. So in the state of Illinois, the school nurses, now we are allowed to give students, if they, have medical cannabis, we can give it to them in the schools. As long as it's not being inhaled. So no smoking, no vaping, but you have to take a course first. It's like an hour course online. And it's kind of like you're being certified to be able to administer it. So and they're expecting us to have this certification every year. So if I have to take this certification course to be able to administer cannabis to a student who may need it in my office, then why am I not teaching about the endocannabinoid system to our students? If it were any other medication, then I would be expected to educate the students about the medication, about the side effects, how it works, what it does. But I'm not able to educate about the endocannabinoid system and, how and why cannabis works. But I am expected to be ready to give it in school when necessary.
It's also something that it's not often connected to the fact that, if people have different versions of what anybody's creator might be, or the 3,000 some religions, but a lot would say, especially that, if my creator gave me an endocannabinoid system, I really don't want to go against my creator. And what I used to say to people was, so I prayed about it, and I felt nothing but what I'm doing is the right thing. It works. Have you ever prayed about that? But I would say that to a legislator or something. It was just kind of funny because you could see the ones that didn't want to say yes.
Yeah.
I have, because that'd be a lie, and then they're going to hell or whatever. It works out like that. But in fact, the endocannabinoid system meant that we were hardwired, and if God made us in His image, I don't even know what that means. So, but I'm not that kind of a religious person or anything about theology. It just seems to me that I'd like an explanation from somebody, who isn't more into certain theology. Like, explain that to me. Riddle me that. My inside voice. I'd be like Susan's inside voice. I wouldn't be saying, "What the fuck is that all about?" That would be in here though. And what I like to do too, a way of saying that is when somebody says something, you can trade around to something that gets blamed on Jack Nicholson, and Sean Penn tells the story under the table, and Lynn came over and said, "Mr. Nicholson, would you like to dance?" And he said, "Wrong verb, honey." I find occasionally a way somebody says something, I go, "Wrong noun," and it's like I'm saying it. It's right there, like T-ball, somebody wanted to think, but yeah. I'm not anybody's case to follow though either. I'm kind of, I don't know. I like that top that if you touch me a little bit, I'd start spinning all over the place.
So Tamara, who do you report to in the school system?
Well, my immediate supervisor is my assistant principal.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it would just go up to associate, and then the principal, the head principal.
But you're not in the teachers union, right?
I am.
Oh, you are.
Okay. I'm a certified school nurse, so I'm in the teachers
Oh, okay.
union.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I always forget what it's called. What is that? The freedom of basically they can't really tell you how you should teach. Pretty much as nurses, we have we each have our own way of.
You have a separate contract?
No.
Okay. Is there a separate addendum for the nurses in particular?
No.
I used to be a business rep for the New York State Nurses Association, so I always like to hear what other unions are doing.
Oh, okay.
And we did have the teachers union in a few of the hospitals, like UMDNJ in Newark. So there is no addendum though for nursing.
No.
I would bring that up when your contract expires and have a voice about that.
Well, by the time that comes up,
you're going to be done. Good for you. Good.
Yeah, and so I think that's also why I kind of feel like the push, because I know I'll be retired soon, and I don't think that there's going to be anyone else to push this after I leave.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if I could just get in there and teach at least the staff, start with them first and teach them about the endocannabinoid system, that'll give me a foot in the door.
So you would be orienting your replacement, right? No?
We'll
Maybe?
see. Maybe sometimes that happens, sometimes that doesn't. Fortunately, I was oriented by my the person that I was replacing, but that doesn't always happen. But that I would hope so. That would be lovely.
Yeah, it would be really good if another nurse could do that, and then you could make sure those kinds of avenues, are presented,
Yeah. Because I love getting I don't get them very often anymore, but the colleges used to ask me if I wanted to have a nursing student follow me, and
oh yeah,
loved it.
Did you like it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I shoved the information in. I loved it. And then, we've even had a few agency nurses that have come to help, and a lot of them were new grads.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would just give them all the information that I could. And the thing is, they were really interested. They were just like kind of like hanging on the edge of their seats, listening to every word that I was saying. They were hanging on to every word that I was saying about the endocannabinoid system. And I would ask them, did they teach you about this? And they would say no. And they would just be like, huh, interesting. And oh yeah, I love a new grad. I love a nursing student because, once I start talking to them about the endocannabinoid system, they just have more and more questions, and I hook them, and I just give them all that I can, and I give them, the resources and the organizations that they could go look up. So
It's fun.
it's
Isn't it?
fun. So hopefully, my hope is that some of those nurses, those nursing students, and those new nurses will get into someone's school and start doing the work. That's just my hope.
When I went to nursing school, they did not take us to we didn't do any school nursing.
Hmm.
you know,
Okay.
but that's we're talking 40 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. But the extent of it was, I think we took blood pressures, but that was about the
Mhm.
extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope they keep sending me more until I retire, so I can just give as many people as I can the information. It's hard for me to shut up talking about it.
When is your impending retirement?
2026, June.
It's not 2025, at least.
Yeah. So I have
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so you might make that
You've just got to plant the right seed, and it'll grow quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, the effort is it maybe a challenge, but I know you can imagine the reward finding like one person or affecting somebody that way. Yeah, that's a good way to retire. Knowing, and check in, get a phone call now and then, a little
Yes.
advice.
I'm trying. Yes.
Yeah.
I had one student, it was some years ago, maybe probably about 4 years now. And I mean, I can talk about it now, but he was this one kid that he would get caught, and that he, was consuming cannabis. And I would talk to him, and he was like, I'm not going to stop. He was like, I want to learn everything about it. He said, and he never mentioned the endocannabinoid system. He probably knows about it now, but he said, I know that this can help people, and I'm gonna go to school and learn about horticulture, and I'm gonna grow it, and I'm gonna make sure that people can get it. And I couldn't be like, yes, I love you, but I love you. And I wish I just an update on him, but
yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
I wish I knew now what I know now when I was younger, because when I was 12, smoking to medicate, and I didn't realize that I was smoking to fix my anxiety, my depression, my ADHD, my dyslexia, all in one vicious cycle of just medicating a little bit of herb, because I didn't want to take any of the medications that they were trying to give me, and didn't realize it until I became an adult. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is realistically a real problem. And this has been helping me this entire time. I've been self-medicating. I wish I knew back then about the endocannabinoid system and how it could have helped me. And it was helping me, but I just didn't know. I was like, oh, I feel good smoking. Let me take a nap and I'm good to go. Nothing's bothering me. And it was self-medication regulation. I didn't realize.
And do you know how many students will probably eventually learn about it after they graduate, somewhere down the road, just like you, and say, man, if I would have known about this then, and I'm trying to get them to that point right now. They need to know now. They need to know how to help themselves now. Because I have a lot of students that they don't want to take anti-depression medications. They don't want to take anti-anxiety medications. They don't want to take medications for ADHD because they're, in their words, it makes me feel funny. I don't feel well. I don't feel right. And some
Those
of the
are
kids
just adverse effects of stimulants, and they don't realize it.
right. And if I, could teach them how to upregulate their endocannabinoid system, just, with nutrition, physical activity, positive social connections.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Even ingesting hemp seeds actually helps the endocannabinoid system,
Yeah, I was
and
just
if people
gonna
don't
say,
realize that.
nutrition.
Nutrition, yeah. And 'cause you mentioned, just because you mentioned hemp seeds, I remember the first time that I had hemp seeds was 4 years ago, and I was on chemotherapy, and a friend of mine sent a box of hemp seeds to me, and I just decided, I was like, oh, okay. I decided to try because I had already started smoking, and I said, well, let me see. And I was already, being physically active. But I was doing more of a gentle yoga. I was walking and doing more of a gentle yoga. So I started using the hemp seeds, and the energy, and I felt strong. I was like, what is this stuff? Like, and I had no idea that something, something like hemp seeds could just make you feel, so much better.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I had the energy, I had energy, but I actually felt like doing power yoga, which I hadn't felt like since before I was on chemotherapy. So adding hemp seeds to my nutrition actually, it helped. It helped me feel stronger.
Yeah.
To get back to my power yoga.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool. I think back, like, when I was in high school, I mean, I'm going to talk about, the late 60s. That's when I started smoking weed, but we were just smoking it to get high until one day somebody said, and I've said this before on here. One of my girlfriends said, I just smoked a joint with period cramps and the cramps are gone. So that was our medicine then, but that was the only thing we knew to use it for. Or, if you were out all night, if you smoked a joint in the morning, you felt a little bit better, something like that. But that was about it. The rest of it was just, it was all recreational, and there wasn't all these other pills they're giving to kids. They were no antidepressants or anything like that, unless they were, schizoid affective or something like that, something very serious. There were a lot of Quaaludes. But that was on the street. That was a street drug, more so than anything, for at least my age group at the time. But we didn't. But that we didn't know what we didn't know, but we did know. We were getting there, and it took a while.
Yeah.
Queen Victoria used cannabis for.
Yes, I was rethinking.
Yeah.
I know I'd heard that. That's was the echo in my head too. That's like really old information. Yeah.
Yeah, for a period.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty fascinating.
The
Well,
first time I read that, I thought that was really interesting. But yeah.
It was in my effort, of course, to encourage you to plant as many seeds as you can before you retire. It occurred to me that Cheryl and I went to University of Rhode Island for Students for Sensible Drug Policy Northeast conference. I was invited to go by a guy named Tom Angel, and he said, I know you can't make it with Cheryl, but is there any way we could get you up here and back just to say a few words? And I said, don't be presumptuous. Health allowing, we'll be there. So we went there, and it was captivating for him. And these, to us both, were this is the upper crust of people involved in cannabis policy that come to a conference like that, chance to do show and tell with Cheryl, and you know, it was in the it was less than 3 months till she passed on, so you could kind of see it. But the thing is, out of that group, what happened was, I told them on the way out, hey, listen, Ann McCormick and me, because her son Todd McCormick was the guy Woody Harrelson bailed out of jail, you know, yada yada. And we were going back to the motel, and one of the students said, I can get something for you if you want, because it was all about medical marijuana. And I said, yeah, what do you think? So we're going back, and I said to him, listen, for anybody that we're over at the Holiday Inn, I think it was, and I said, anybody wants to come over later on, you know, we'll be open, we'll just have some dinner, stop by. So we got a call and said, Jim, remember me? Justin, I had the dreadlocks. I said, yeah, Justin, did you mean what you said about coming over? Yeah, we're down in the lobby. I said, awesome, come on into the room. And he real sheepishly says, how many people do you think would fit in the room? And I said, no, we got a good size room. Let's see. And it was like a clown car filling up. You know, they were just everywhere, but not too many. So it was so much fun to break bread with them and have the conversation. But afterwards, you know, Cheryl fell asleep, and there was like 6, 7 people sitting around the bed anyway. It was like this. I wish I had a picture. So on the way out, I said, listen, I'll wake her up, you know, so you can say goodbye. But yeah, you're probably saying goodbye. You know? So it was like this surreal experience of waking up Cheryl and everybody filing by the bed. Cheryl, you rock, you know. And she's just like, that was all it for her, you know, the kids. And she'd lost two or three kids herself, so you know, it was a really positive experience. But Tom, who put it on, he went on to quite a thing. Actually, I get my news nationally from the marijuana moment out of DC, where they have everything about every bill, it's all about that, and it's a great resource, you know. So the information that this is 22 years later, 21 years later, you know, we scattered a lot of seeds, and you don't always know what it's going on beyond that, but to be able to actually see it, you know. So I'm already pushing you a tire going downhill, and I'm trying to push it even more, you know. Yeah. We got a time limit, an expiration date on your position here.
Yeah.
You know,
honestly, I don't think they don't want to teach any of the younger children personally. They're going to be like, college kids are fine. I think that's more of the speed of how things have been going with the educational part, because over 5 colleges in New Jersey offer cannabis courses and or some sort of course involving cannabis, whether that's health or marketing strategy. And so it's coming, like you're saying, it's just very slowly going.
And I get that, you know, but it's a disservice to the kids, because you know, I'm in a high school, but one of my students, he started smoking cannabis when he was 12 after his father passed away. So,
well, they're not mutually exclusive either. I mean, this should absolutely anything in college especially, but it's they're not, you know, you can do both, and they're going to happen at different paces. The tougher nut to crack, obviously, high school, but again, nobody tries. I'm never convinced that it didn't happen because nobody tried. So if one person tries, you know, it's like, it makes, I don't know, make me feel better knowing somebody tried.
Oh yeah, I do, but you got to realize, cannabis was an entry drug
Yeah.
and propaganda for
listen,
a very long time used by politicians.
You got to realize you're
scare
describing
people, scare tactics. So they're going to keep using it.
Paco, you can't describe that to a 72-year-old man who lived this through 1970. That I can't believe.
Still using
can't
that.
believe how it was. Actually, it's the other way around.
They're still using that as
sometimes
an issue.
it's sort of like, wow, somebody that's been through all that, maybe they have a view that I don't. And
they don't want, politicians don't want to hear that, because I tell them all the time. I started smoking at 11, 12 years old, and I didn't realize. They don't care. Oh, no, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. That's an entry drug to other drugs. You know how they are.
No, you're describing the betting odds. If I had to place a bet and I needed to make the money, it wouldn't be on this. I can't say it's impossible, though.
No, not impossible. Just
and in the process, there's stuff you don't see happen, like other adults see this going on and they get it, even though the kids don't, but they get it. And it sort of, you don't see it. It's not a very self-gratifying endeavor, because you likely are never going to see your greatest results. You won't know. That's that song, by the way. That's that Jackson Browne song, For a Dancer.
Yeah, I honestly think it should be taught in high school, because, like I said, that's where I literally started my medicating. I had no idea that I was even medicating, because I didn't realize I had anxiety in 5th grade while I'm sitting there just dealing with different tics and different things to deal with my anxiety as a child. Like,
the first
who
time
wants to speak to about that?
All cannabis use is medicine. The first time I heard that, though, like 20 years ago, I was like, yeah, all right, but then there was this period that went on after it really accelerated, where it was every couple of weeks. You know what else it works for? You know what else it works for? And it got to the point where, okay, even I'm like, what, does it work for everything? And but the thing is, I can see that point being well made now. So I didn't see it. And to my discredit, the reason I never figured it out for Cheryl was because I was a consumer and she wasn't. And I consumed fairly copious amounts at a certain time in my life. And nothing was better for Cheryl. I always say it was her best medicine before she smoked, because some of the stuff that we had to do, she can't move. It's a healthcare situation. I'm her primary healthcare. I can operate a straight catheter on somebody with the best of them now. I'm telling you. But the point is that it worked for me. She could see in times of what might stress somebody out, I would stop. And if it was a cleaning up that it's going to take some of your dignity away just to have your husband be the one that has to clean it up. So the thing was, the way it worked for her is she'd see me get everything ready. That little tray that you have in hospitals would be at home, and here we go. And I get my bowl out, and I do the old Arsenio Hall stance, wide thing there, and I'd stand there, and I'd take it out, and she'd start to smile. I'd be all overly dramatic. I wouldn't say a word, although I would have the CD player set up, ready to go with some, stuff that made her feel good. And without saying anything to her, I'd take a toke and I'd blow it out and go. I'd take another, and it'd be somewhere between 3 and 6, depending on the quality of the smoke and the task at hand. But at some point, I'd take an extra deep breath. I'd actually snap on gloves while I'm holding my breath, because that was back in the days when I didn't know you didn't have to hold your breath. You could get 90% with just exhale. Mm-hmm. But I would do that, and I'd blow it out, and I'd go, I'm going in. And I'd hit it. It'd be like Leonard Skinner, give me 3 steps or something, because, I'd be over. And she was nothing but smiles. I was getting the job done, and I was smiling. She was smiling, and it all was worth it. And that was because of cannabis. And that was directly due to cannabis. So basically, it was good medicine for her. I think it's good medicine for anybody that has a condition that needs that kind of care, that it's in their best interest if their caregiver enjoys cannabis.
Hmm.
Basically, if I were hiring healthcare workers, it'd be like, do you consume cannabis? No. Okay. See you.
Part of the interview process.
Yeah. Okay. But that's in my perfect world. I applaud what you're doing, and I realize that you need to do it because of the way it worked out for you, and not doing it is going to be worse for you than trying and failing. I get that entirely. So,
Yeah. Thank you. I'll never know, what could have happened unless I try. So
yeah.
I got a question for you. The first time you smoked cannabis, how old were you, and is there a story behind it?
I was not as young as most people. So I was 44, 35. What was I, 40? Let me think. So, 46. And I'm 50 now. So, and it was the night before my first chemotherapy treatment.
Oh.
I wanted to be, I was anxious. I wanted to be relaxed. I wanted to get enough sleep. And I wanted to be ready. So that was, well, how was it for me? I was high, but I don't think I really knew that I was high. I mean, I felt like, I felt something. I knew it was there, but I always imagined high being like I was on some type of magic carpet ride, or I really expected more, but what happened was I just kind of slipped into sleep, and I woke up feeling great, so because I got a good night's sleep.
Well, I think a lot of people certainly don't know they're high at first. Something exhibits it sometimes. I mean, you do something like in my case, I had it turned. It was always third telephone pole just before it, and you couldn't see it well because it was like woods. And I took off. I got flustered. Was that 2? Was that 3? And I went into the woods. So of course that was, oh, I'm high. But when did it occur to you actually? Yeah, I got high. I mean,
well, it occurred to me that I was, that I actually got high much later. But it was maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago, I knew I was high. There was no mistaking about it. So
something changed that. Yeah. Okay.
Quick story. So I was still really in my, learning stages, and I would always, so I would take just a pea size of cannabis raw, and I would put it in, I would make it like a tea, and I would put it in my thermos, and I would take it. I was like, I can't get high. I cannot get high of raw cannabis. That's what I read. I cannot get high. I'm going to drink the tea and I'll be fine. And I've done it before with no problem. So I put it in my thermos, and I went to work, and work got really busy, and I did not get a chance to drink any of the tea. So after work, I was like, oh, I got to get my cannabinoids in. So on my way home, I was like, I put the thermos up to my mouth, and I said, oh, wow, this is still kind of hot. I was like, this is a really good thermos. So I just kind of gulped it all down. And I got home, and I started making dinner for my son. He was on Zoom doing tutoring. And I was in the kitchen cooking dinner. And this was about maybe 4 hours later. And I was like, oh man, I'm really dizzy. I was like, I think I'm just really tired. I'm just really tired. Let me just let me just finish cooking dinner so I can go lay down. It was just a really long day, so I'm tired. So then I just kind of, I'm still cooking, and I kind of stumbled back, and I'm like, man, I'm just so dizzy. I was like, I got to get to bed. So my goal was to finish dinner and then, put it on the table for him once he was done, and then just go lay down. And then all of a sudden I had this urge. I was like, let me just make him some chocolate chip cookies. Now I bake from scratch. So I'm like, I'm gonna make him some chocolate chip cookies too. So now I get everything out and I'm making the chocolate chip cookies, and I start stirring the chocolate chip cookies. And as I'm stirring, I'm watching myself stir, and I started laughing. And I was like, what the hell am I laughing at? And I was like, what is wrong with me? And then I started talking to myself. I said, Tamra, you're high. And I was like, wait a minute. I can't be high. Now I'm trying to rationalize with myself. I can't be high. How can I possibly be high? I had raw cannabis. I can't be high. The rule is you can't get high. So I'm thinking, I'm rationalizing. And I thought about it. I said, this raw cannabis was in this extremely hot water in this insulated thermos all day long for about 7.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And then you drank it all down. And I said, it had to decarboxylate. So I start running so then I'm freaking out because my husband wasn't here. My son is here, and I'm like, how am I going to take care of him? I'm starting to freak out. So I run to my bedroom. I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, you're high. You're okay. So now I'm starting to get paranoid because then I started to feel like my throat was closing up. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I run back to the kitchen, and I'm looking for my daughter's EpiPen. So I grabbed the EpiPen, and I was like, no, wait. No, you don't need this. You just think your throat is closing up. It's not really closing up. So I run back to the bathroom, like, okay, I'm doing this. No swelling, no facial edema. I'm like, you're okay. So then I'm thinking, should I call 911? No. And then I'm looking in the mirror, like, no, don't call 911. You cannot die. You cannot die. And they're going to laugh at you if you go to the emergency room. So now I'm running back. Then I go back to the kitchen. And then I run back to the room again. I call my husband. I said, Tony. He's like, yeah. I said, something's wrong. And he's like, what? What's going on? So I tell him the whole story. He's like, Tamra, you're high. Just go lay down. I'm like, I can't. I tried that because I tried to lay down and I got back up and I'm running back and forth. I said, I got to take care of my son. He said, just go lay down. I'm on my way. So I go into the bedroom. I lay down. My son comes in and he says, Mama, are you okay? And I said, no.
No. You said no? You scary mama.
No.
Just go back to tutoring.
No, mama's not.
I looked that child in the face and said, no, we're having an existential crisis. Go that way.
My husband gets home and he just lays down behind me. And he's just like, just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. I'll take, he went in there and helped my son with the cookies after he was done and finished up whatever I was doing in the kitchen. Yeah. Wow. So
that's right up there.
Wow.
I don't know if it'll help you to know that everybody does get that question, but that I can't think of anything more unique and laughable, because it's about getting high. Funny shit happens to people, but that, yeah, no.
I'm like,
and an edible form too is usually pretty strong when you take on an edible form like that because you're not used to it. You know what I mean? Especially being new to ingesting cannabis in any form. So when you take an edible and you're just like, oh no, what? It's not fun, not a fun time.
Not fun.
I remember my first time greening out on 1,000 milligrams. Somebody had given me 1,000 milligram and I was like, oh no, I thought it was 400, which is what I was used to at the time, medicated. And I took 1,000 milligrams. I tell you, it's like it's a different world. It's scary when you're ingesting too much, and then all of a sudden,
it
nighty
is.
night, and you go to sleep.
Right.
All you can do.
That's the best
I'm
part about
picturing
it.
you, Tamara. I'm picturing you running into your bedroom and hiding under the covers, right? And just peeking out, saying to your son, "No,
No,
that's priceless. It's
no,
priceless.
no.
That's good. I like that."
I'm just glad I didn't call 911. I'm glad I was able to bring it back and rationalize, because yeah, that would have been embarrassing.
I know a couple of people that did that. They had to call 911 and take an ambulance ride, and they're like, "What's going on?" And then when they got there, they were just like, "Go home and go to sleep, please.
That's-
Like,
that's-
nothing we
that's-
can do about it. Just go home." I mean, it was more they were having the paranoia, anxious attack that these, you know what I mean? It was more so the scary part for them.
Yeah.
You know,
Glad that didn't happen to me.
we do have a trademark for the Cannabis Nurse Navigator whenever we get through this descheduling, rescheduling, whatever the scheduling they're going to do, so that in those cases, and I don't know, I probably won't live long enough to see it happen.
Yes, you will.
Don't say that.
Because why? Because you and I are on the gates are going to open for me and Jim.
We're pretty close to the same age.
Yes, we are.
It's all about me now when you say that, you know.
But what was I going to say with that? Oh, because if you look at what the nurse navigator job description is, you know, you could fit it into any subspecialty, but the subspecialty that it began with was with cancer patients, was with, you know, really that's where at Harlem Hospital, you know, and it worked really well because those nurses were specifically for the cancer patient, for any question, anything at all. So it worked really good. I had taken the model and used it as even though I couldn't use the title trauma nurse navigator, I made it into another name. But I just followed the model and just changed the words around, you know, because at one time I was the nurse that worked with 8 different trauma surgeons, you know, in the hospital setting. I didn't work like in their offices or anything like that. So, but I didn't have a title, so I went looking for one, and that's what I found. Now, Neek and a couple other people from the network worked really diligently on creating this Cannabis Nurse Network that can be presented whenever we get around to changing, you know, the process, the legalization process and what have you. And being able to present it in hospitals. But see, my question is this, okay, and you know I'm talking nursey stuff, and maybe you guys are going to be bored by it, but like it's good for you to know this. You know, this information is already out there. It's already been trademarked. The United States government has already trademarked it for us. However, coming out of hospitals, for as long as I was in hospitals and working on all different levels, I don't see how it's going to work in a hospital setting, because that nurse, you know what, because they want us to be constantly working. So like, you know, you work L&D. Well, that's what you were doing. You were delivering, you know, you were always busy. How much downtime?
Not a lot of time to educate.
Right?
Yeah.
I had no downtime. Sometimes I didn't even have downtime to go home and go to sleep, you know?
And forget eating.
So,
go ahead.
yeah. So it's, I think it's going to be kind of interesting because I
agree with
questioned, you know, right, Paco?
I think it's going to be very tricky to even teach a new curriculum about the endocannabinoid system for nurses that are, you know, have so much time in. It's going to be hard to teach new things that's already not there already to begin with. You know what I mean? To implement it if it ever does take place, like you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it'll take place, but it's going to be tricky with those kinds of you know, kind of positions that they sound good and they sound like they could work in, like, you know, but then but what are you asking for? You're asking to hold one nurse that's just accountable for the potential patient that may come into the ER high on weed. we do tox screens, and we have a whole variety of drugs you can pick from, for the most part. With all the years I spent in an emergency department, if anybody ever said to me, "Oh, I'm just high on weed," I would have laughed. I would have said, get out, don't waste my time, please." But you know what? But you know what I mean when it comes to being able to fill a position and to be able to make that position work, turn it into something. I think the idea is good, but I don't see it happening. I just don't. I would rather see, just as you are doing, in the school systems and those kinds of environments, where you could be more mobile and you're going to go from one place to another, you know.
Yeah. And I had, although I didn't need her to teach me, I had a nurse navigator. I didn't need her to teach me about cannabis, obviously. I had other mentors and I was teaching myself. But if I was a patient that did not know about cannabis, it would have been amazing if my nurse navigator was able to take me through that. Because,
and you know what, that might be the place for the cannabis nurse navigator's position to begin, is because you're a breast cancer survivor, right?
And I'm telling you, I did more than survive through chemotherapy and radiation. I thrived. And I know it was my new lifestyle. I know. Between cannabis and nutrition, I still have full bottles of my nausea medication in my medicine cabinet. And it was 4 years ago. It's been 4 years now. And the reason I still have the full bottles, because I like to look at them every now and then and remind myself I never needed to use them. I used cannabis.
Yeah.
That wasn't Zofran by any chance, was it? Or
probably.
I'd have to go look, but probably.
Yeah. And it could be by a different name, but it's
Well, I did have the pleasure when I was in the hospital and hurt, and my doctor knew who I was. This 12 years ago, and it was pretty serious. But at one point,
he told you, Jim, just smoke a joint. You'll feel better.
Yeah. In a hospital with totally, I had so much hooked up to stuff. It was, I didn't get to sleep on anything but my back for almost 5 weeks. But the thing is, he was in, and he had like a couple, maybe 5 ducklings with him. The white med students. They come. The gaggle would follow him in and stand over and watch. And I wasn't feeling well, and I was mentioned that. And he said, "Oh, concerned." I said, "Listen, I appreciate you, the second best antiemetic, giving me that, And he looked and he goes, "And cannabis is first," because he already knew. I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, how's the Zofran working?" And it was like right on cue. And I don't vomit well. I never had. But it was like right on cue as I unloaded, and I had my tub like right there as it was, because it was ready. But without missing a beat, we got to look up, wiping a tear and going, "Not well." It was, they were the behind him. He couldn't see everybody trying not to laugh at this incredible conversation that just ended. And the doctor I had was the guy they called in when they say, it was diverted to the trauma center as opposed to the closest hospital as soon as they saw injuries. So anyway, it was like the man to be able to put that seed in his head, Got it. I got a call to Matlock in 15 minutes. It's a new show with Kathy Bates. It's a great. No, it's like her name. Yeah,
is it like the old Matlock?
No, it's, imagine a 75-year-old woman named Matlock, was a lawyer, hadn't been for years, and now she's 75, getting the job redone because of things. But it's, in case somebody's going to watch it, I don't want to say much about it. I'm not easily impressed. I really enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I missed last week. I don't know how this works, because I don't know if I really even want to see episode 4 before episode 3. Let's see. No, my note didn't deal with that. I got a sticky note passed to me. All right. So anyway, I got about 8 minutes. I'm not going to miss this. I get to eat in front. I get to eat in front of the TV.
This has been
Tamara,
great.
What's your favorite munchie food?
Oh, it used to be popcorn, but now I think I should not say this. I'm trying to get off the chips. But yeah, it'd probably be that or cucumbers or watermelon. Yeah, I got a few of them. Yeah. So if I'm, I would probably say if I am my favorite, I'm gonna say watermelon. It's watermelon. It's definitely watermelon. Like I can cut one in half and just eat it like that.
Especially in the summer when it's
Yeah.
nice and sweet and you're thirsty, right?
Yes.
Nothing like
Yes.
a chunk of watermelon.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm gonna say watermelon, definitely.
Do you like the pickled cucumbers or just regular cucumbers?
Just regular cucumbers, sliced so that I can dip them in guacamole like they're chips.
Oh, come on. Oh.
He's got to have some now.
Oh.
I dip them in hummus. I use hummus.
I like them in hummus also. My favorite is guacamole, but yes.
Yeah. Love guacamole.
I'm going to try that. That's amazing. I love that.
It's really good.
Guacamole and hummus up to each other.
And it keeps me off the chips.
It does. It really does.
They're not mutually exclusive now. Come on.
Because I'm really looking for the crunch and the salt.
Yeah.
So if I've got guacamole and I've got a crunchy cucumber, I'm fine.
Yeah, I get that out of the popcorn you first mentioned. I find that to be moderately innocuous.
Yeah.
A little bit of salt.
Yeah.
Some butter. Well, it's not really butter. I can't believe it though. It says so right on it. I can't believe it's not butter.
And the cucumber is liver cleansing. So I throw it in a smoothie too.
Yeah, I juice it.
We grew some cucumbers this year with the tomatoes, and there was always cucumber, tomatoes, a little bit of onion, some vinegar, and water a little bit, and that's it.
Good.
Yeah, I mean on a hot day with all of that being chilled. Oh yeah.
That sounds really good.
My last question is, do you have a quote or something that you would say to cheer somebody up if your friend is down on their luck or depressed or sad? What's something you would say to them? Maybe a quote or life lesson that has helped you out through your rough times. You have anything?
A quote. Well, I mean, I guess
Advice, even.
it's a scripture that I really like, and it's Romans 8:28, and saying that all things work out for your good. Yeah. So that's
Good.
my yeah.
Yeah, quoting
Yeah,
scripture.
that's my favorite scripture. Yeah.
That'll work.
Everything is gonna work out for your good.
I don't think anyone has ever quoted scripture yet, so that's awesome. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's a good, you know what? That's a good quote for now. It really is.
Yeah.
Or at least get me
It'll
through the
work
week.
out for our good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Wow,
Yeah.
timely. That's a good one for specifically today.
Mhm.
Yep. Do you have a website or a way people can check out what you're doing or anything like that?
Yes, they can go to Holistic Wellness Consulting LLC.com. And then I'm also on Facebook at Tamara Pryor RN.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you
So-
so much, Tamara.
You're welcome. This was fun. I really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it.
I've been talking to you guys.
I knew I would. I just didn't know how. Sometimes certain parts of a podcast make me stir something up inside me for good. And I like that there's no bob and head dolls here. There's people telling you what they think, regardless of how you might receive it. That's why Paco's always been somewhat of a leveling influence on me. And Sue can put it like you have to be from New Jersey to be able to put it the way she does, where it's easily understood, you know. So, you know, I got a lot of respect around me right here for the
You
people.
speak
helping me,
Jersey, I
right,
speak
you know.
Jersey.
I speak Jersey.
It was my slice too, you know. I want to taste. You know? Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Sarah, if you want to rewatch this, you can. Lefty usually edits tomorrow, right?
No, I don't edit it. It's up on YouTube. It's on
Okay.
Instagram
It'll be
and
on YouTube.
Facebook.
Thank
Okay.
you. All right.
I had it. It was a good time.
It was awesome. Really.
Thank you.
Woo.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank you.
Matlock.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out.
All right.
All right.
All right. Good talking to y'all.
Okay.
Night.
Good night.
Want
Out
to
here.
thank CMMNJ.org, Canasense, UFCW, JacksonStorms.com, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, Mad Hatter Dispo, which will be open very soon, and SativaCross.org, where you can donate. And we'll be at the State House on Thanksgiving. Wake and bake Thanksgiving morning before you go hang out with your stiff square relatives. Hang out with us, smoke some weed, eat some food, drink some coffee, have some hot chocolate, and give away food and stuff to the homeless people.
And bring stuff. I mean, you know, it's like it's a giveaway of stuff. I'm coming with some serious good coats, you know, like leather and stuff.
Yeah, bring coats, bring food.
No, I mean, well, it's you know, it's somebody passed on 3 years later, getting rid of the coats, you know. So that's where they're going. But it's that I'm hoping to encourage people to find a way to get, you know, how far away is it? You know what? 45 minutes, go to Trenton anytime after 8. 45 minutes back, you're back in your own place knowing somebody's going to get that stuff at a pop-up thing going, you mean it's free? I just get to take stuff? Yeah, to do that in Trenton is like rewarding as can be. I'm saying that's going to help people's Thanksgiving where, yeah, give thanks for what you got. And that somewhere, somebody's going to be wearing that coat going, look what I got. Not to mention who knows what, you know. It's the 8th one. 8.
Number 8.
Yeah. Thanks to Trenton for putting up with us another year. You know?
So our list begins with Cheryl. We spoke a lot about Cheryl tonight, and she actually was a game changer for me because, like you said, she changed a lot of people's minds, and she changed my mind about it. I just thought cannabis was munchie food for cancer patients, and no, it was a lot more than giving you the munchies. Like you said, the endocannabinoid system I learned about, and thank you, Cheryl. Sabina Rose, Diane, Gracie, Cindy May, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, who got his daughter to be able to use cannabis in school, administered by the nurses.
And that when Tamara mentioned, oh yes, we can do that in Illinois. Like, well, you haven't been able to do it as long as we have. You know, it was nobody thinks in New Jersey is that state that would have gone first in making it legal to do. You know,
It's because of Roger.
Yeah, right. And I knew when you got to his name that, you know, did that by himself. Imagine that. His burden was he was a lawyer trying to care for his daughter. He had the ability to give up all sorts of other shit and try to keep a business, you know, and make money and let him do that. And I think it wore him out, man.
His mom had to leave work and go to the school, pick up her daughter, bring her 1,000 feet away from the school, give her the medicine, and then bring her 1,000 feet back to the school. Now, mind you, her daughter is autistic. Now she thinks she's going home. She thinks there's something else. She's confused. So you're screwing up her day as well. So it was just really a mess.
So ridiculous.
And he fought the law and he won.
He sure did.
Fuck the Clash. Sorry, it's bad. It's a musical reference. I fucked
Jay?
the law. No.
Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank and Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jay Bird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico. Man, this list, man. Oof. Lulu, Becky, Lawanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Jeff Oakes.
Yesterday was the anniversary of Lisa's death. She's been dead for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes a lot further than the person being considered, the patient, the one that needs help. I don't know how many times I've tried to remind people it affects the whole families.
Family.
Whole families. What do you give up family-wise for that person to have a medicine they can't afford?
Yeah.
And that's why home grow, especially for patients, sticks. You have any kind of a lot of afflictions, it'll take everything you got. You don't end up with anything no matter how you work it out, and especially if it's chronic and long term. So anyway, yeah.
Watch what happens in Florida because the ballot measure failed because they were saying that there's no home grow in this bill. It's not really legalization. There's no home grow, and good. Now they don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they'll fix it, and they'll get home grow in it.
Yeah. How long will that take, and what damage will be done? There's more to that equation. It's not that simple.
They're going to watch us. They're going to watch us.
Governor DeSantis.
No, I know, but I'm just saying when we decide what we think is what we would like to happen, it has to be a risk benefit assessment, not just a risk assessment, and say, well, I feel better with that.
He's a home grow champion. DeSantis is a home grow champion. Yay!
Okay, yeah. What says it? Which way is the wind blowing today? Come on. You know how many people lost their right to say, "Here's what I think"? It's like what, nuts. Last week, this week, or next week?
This is nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going there. I'm not letting certain shit in my head. So
Strange bedfellows.
I'm going to see. I'm not going to miss another episode of Matlock. Man. Awesome.
Enjoy.
No, okay, it's a great premise, but I can't tell you because you don't know it till during the first episode.
What name does she use on the show?
Her name, well, in the show, her name was Matlock. I mean, Matlock. Other people.
No, I know. I remember that.
What's her name on? What do you mean?
What's her name now in the show? Isn't it something different?
She's Matlock. No, she's
no. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different show then.
It's Kathy Bates. She's awesome. Yeah. It really is.
Kathy Bates. That's what I was thinking. Kathy Bates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like her.
Bates was that crazy nurse.
Yeah, she's not allowed to have a motel name it after herself.
Yeah.
Crazy nurse.
Crazy nurse.
That's your nurse right there.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to miss this. I got a life over.
All right, guys. Thank you. And here we go.
Thank you.
Paco, take it easy.
Not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember that. Thank you, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Okay, good night, everybody. Love you guys.